The original Menstown between Dave and I was literally the two of us sitting in a garage, smoking cigars, having a drink. And we spent over 900 hours doing that while he was alive. Like they'll be there, they'll have 3-4 cigars. They might do work from there. They'll sit there with their laptop. You know they're not making out with anybody hot. But the fifth reason I get to is going to be the reason that I think most guys smoke cigars. But
okay, let's go.
I'm not here advocating for anybody to start smoking cigars. I would be better off not smoking cigars health-wise if for no other reason you can get mouth cancer. It's sometimes I just want to date my cigar. So I don't want to marry it.
TCB with flash.
What? What just happened?
TCB and a flash. Elvis Presley. I want to blend. And okay, I'm having a cigar now. Oh, look at me. I'm a cigar boy now. Oh, I'm Mr. Cigar. Yeah, okay, dokie.
Wow.
2, it makes me really, really, really want to smoke.
So the second one I can't help you with, and the second one might be a reason to not have cigars.
Peanut butter banana sandwich.
I'll say. What? I'm not. He's not Foghorn Leghorn, Dirk.
I'll say.
Yeah, I had one a long time ago, but like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, that's what I want. Not because it makes me feel powerful, but because now you can enjoy this shit, right? Welcome back to Menstown. We're talking about cigars today. What are we going to talk about? A couple of different things. Will's got some questions for me, and I'm going to answer them because, Will, what is your level of cigar aficionado?
Man, I'm gonna go with like 0 to 1. Like I can order a cigar and I can make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I can play the game. I can play the cigar game, but I'm not a cigar smoker. I don't like cigars. I'm not a huge cigar fan. I will occasionally smoke a cigar out of deference to the group, but by and large, I'm not a cigar person. That in and of itself should excommunicate me from Menstown, but the fact that I was a chronic smoker for 20 odd years, I think gives me a pass.
So cigars, it's funny you say you're an ex-smoker because we'll get into cigars here in a second and kind of how they work and why you may or may not want to smoke them. But I've always thought they could be a help or a hindrance to a former smoker. I smoked cigarettes for like 6 or 7 years, so not very long. But cigars were helpful for the whole, the oral fixation, as they say.
Right. It's
good for that.
The ritual.
It's hard not, like, you don't inhale a cigar, which is good. But it's hard if you're an ex-smoker not to inhale some of it. All right, cigars, buddy. Why don't you have some questions for me about cigars? Why don't you ask some questions about cigars? I'll see if I can answer them. Maybe that'll help the folks out there with cigars. They're not as complicated as people think they are, but go ahead and shoot here. What do you got?
All right. So riddle me this. Like what is it? What is it about the cigar that you find that you enjoy?
Okay, so cigar smoking is a bit unique in that it in no way is an addiction.
That is a difference.
That's so people smoke cigarettes because they need their next cigarette. Nobody ever said,
looks cool.
Like, no, it can look cool. It can look cool. Nobody ever said, hey, I smell too good. Let me go ahead and get a Marlboro Red on me. Like, nobody ever did that. Nobody, like, you smoke a cigarette because you need the cigarette because you're getting antsy and you need to calm yourself down and you need that dopamine hit. You need that feeling of like, oh, that feels good. And that same thing for vaping right now, which is not necessarily our generation, but unfortunately there's people who are our age who do it. They look cool doing it. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing as smoking, right?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it really does come down to just ingesting a chemical, to satisfy yourself. I was thinking about being addicted to nicotine the other night, and I was thinking about what a pointless addiction that is, right? So, I mean, like when you're addicted to heroin, like, you shoot yourself up, you go euphoric, you're in la la land for however long you're in la la land, and it's a great place to be. You're floating in the sky, way up in the clouds, and it's a good place to be, right? You're addicted to it. It's a fucked up thing. It's a terrible thing. But that being said, you're at least getting something out of it. Nicotine, you're not getting anything out of it, really. It's not like it's uplifting you. It's not like it's giving you insight into anything. It's not like it's opening up a door. You look cool, subjectively speaking, for about 3 minutes, and then you're addicted, and you get no benefit out of it. cocaine. I mean, if you snort up some of, you know, a little devil's dandruff, and you get some energy, you feel good, you're popping, you're feeling nice, you're addicted to it, but you get a little something out of it. Nicotine, you're addicted to it, but there's no upside to it. There's no benefit to it.
Like there's nothing that gives you a high. There's nothing that gives you any up. It's just if you don't have it, you're down.
Right, exactly.
And it never starts that way. It's not like, oh, you build up this immunity to it. It just starts that way. Like you
the first few cigarettes you smoke, you get a little
like a buzz, kind of
a little buzz, but that is ever so short lived.
Right.
And then by the time you're actually in it, it's pointless. Like you don't get that buzz anymore. You suffer from the fact you don't have nicotine. It's the cheapest addiction in the history of addiction. It's the worst.
It's actually it's a pretty impressive agent, nicotine, to get you addicted to something that doesn't even.
It's not even that much fun.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing thing that they did with it, and I mean, and it was all built around. Oh, here's something that's flavorful. Okay, well that's a cigar. Now inhale it. Okay, well that's bad for me, but now I'm addicted to it, and ugh.
And now I've got tar on my lungs. That's all right. We'll put a filter in there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, dokie dokie.
Wow.
So tell me more about what do you love about the cigar? What do you love about the cigar? So it's not addictive, right?
It's not. It's addictive. Like
it's a habit, but it's not addictive, right? And there's a difference between that being something being a habit and something being addictive.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't even think of it as a habit. I think of it as a hobby. So I don't really think of smoking cigars as it's obviously not. It's not addictive. It can give you, like, there are people that smoke 3-4 cigars a day. Now that's not my jam. My jam is like, I'll have one on the weekend or maybe 2 on the weekend. And if nothing's going down, or if we end up going to the club or something, maybe I'll have one during the week. Now, don't get me wrong. There have been weeks where I've had 7. There's plenty of weeks where I don't have any. So it just depends on what's going on, like that week. If I'm on vacation, if I'm really busy, whatever. But at no point do I ever go, oh man, I really need a cigar. Like that never happens because you don't inhale it. So you're not, there's no like hit. There's no hit to the back of your throat. Like when you were smoking a cigarette where you feel that kind of, that's not what it's about. That's not what cigars are about. It's not what they're for. So that's why I call it a hobby.
Yeah, so let's take the people that for this is a tick, right? Okay. And they're accommodating it for whatever reason because it is a tick, right? It's a behavioral tick, right? And so 80%, this is recreational. This is their thing. This is a recreational sort of respite. This is a cocktail at the end of the day. This is a cigar at the end of a busy week. This is a stressful moment. So I'm going to sit down and have a cigar and just kind of give myself the room and the opportunity to expand myself. What is the appeal for that 80%? What are they going for? How do you get indoctrinated into the church of cigars?
Okay, so a couple things here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have 5 reasons that I smoke cigars. Okay,
let's hear them.
Here's the thing. Only one of them is 95% of it. So here we go. I'll end with that.
You have 5 reasons. You have 5 reasons. One is 95%, and the other 4 are like roughly 1%.
Let's call it 96% for the one big reason for me that I smoke cigars. And the other four things, they're real. They either got me started or I still do it because of this once in a while. But the 5th reason I get to is going to be the reason that I think most guys smoke cigars.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So number 1, it's culturally, it's in the zeitgeist. It looks fucking cool. Okay, James Bond smokes cigars.
Is that 95%? Is that the 95%?
That is not the 95%.
Okay, I was just making sure. I'm just making sure. You're a shallow bastard.
Now, it might be why 95% of people had their first cigar.
Oh well, that's the reason why anybody has their first cigar is entirely peer pressure.
Yeah, like it looked to me.
Somebody's at a wedding, somebody's at a party, somebody's at a thing, and somebody's like, "Hey, you want a cigar?" And everybody's gonna be like, well, sure, I want a cigar because I'm not a douche bag and I want to blend. And okay, I'm having a cigar now. Oh, look at me, I'm a cigar boy now. Oh, I'm Mr. Cigar.
Right. Well, so before I even get into that, let's talk about that first cigar. Do me a favor, as a guy who's smoked cigars more than half his life at this point.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a brand new cigar smoker, or if you have any question about a cigar, fucking ask, man. Cigar people are they sometimes, you know, they're at a country club. They seem a little bit like it's obviously a status symbol too. It used to be, and it still kind of is. Like if you're smoking $20 cigars 3 times a day, 7 days a week, you got some money.
Yeah, there's a little cash there. Yeah.
You're spending some money, and even if you don't, if you're spending, you know, $12 cigars, let's say you're doing that 4 times a month, like on the weekends, you're still spending some money. So it's not like you have some disposable income. So it's kind of a status symbol. It's like some people collect watches, some people cars, right? Some people motorcycles.
Okay.
Like cigars. For me, it's cigars. Like,
all right, that's fair.
And I know the first time I had a cigar, I didn't know what I was doing, and I asked. And as a cigar smoker, like I go to cigar lounges and stuff. Nobody ever has a problem. Nobody goes, "Oh, geez, look at this guy. He doesn't even know what he's doing." Like it's better to ask as opposed to just sitting there trying to figure out how to smoke a cigar. Like there's a cutter. Like, how do I light this thing? What is toasting it? You know, what are the parts of this cigar? Like, what's going on here? So it's not really part of the question, but I'm just saying, like, for those out there, if you have your first cigar, look at a guy who's smoking a cigar, ask him. He will absolutely tell you. He'd be happy to do it. He's not going to be a douchebag. He's not going to be like, I can't believe you don't know how to do that. Like, oh, first cigar? Cool. All right, so here's what you want to do, man. You know, like, it's just, like, it's a very cool community. Let me get some of my nicotine. Okay. So cultural, it's cool. That's probably the reason people start smoking cigars. That, or to your point, peer pressure. Because you don't want to, like, if you're at a wedding and all the groomsmen and you're a groomsman and they're all smoking cigars with the groom, what are you gonna do? Not have one? Like,
right? Yeah,
you gonna be that guy?
Yeah, don't be that guy.
And but that leads to my 5th point, which I'll get to. All right, number 2. It's relaxing.
Okay, how about that?
I had a shit day. I had a shit week. I need to calm down. And it's like, here's what you can hotbox a cigarette, right? Like where you just smoke that thing in 2-3 drags, you're out because you got to get back to work, and you're going to have your cigarette every 25 minutes on the dot, and you're going to hotbox it and you're going to get back to work. Yeah. Cigars, nobody smoking a cigar is in any kind of hurry.
Truth. That is truth. I've never seen anybody rapidly smoke a cigar. I've never seen anybody rush a cigar smoke.
Right. And when we talk about cigars, guys, we're in Menstown here. We're not talking about White Owls. We're not talking about Black and Milds. I'm not talking about Swisher Sweet. I'm not talking about acids even. I don't want anything with a flavor that's other than tobacco. Okay. It doesn't need to be vanilla. It doesn't need to be cinnamon scented. Now, there are people in cigar lounges that will get mad at you for smoking that in there. They're like, that is messing up the entire smell of this lounge.
Oh, dude, like if you rock out, like if I walk into a place and it smells like vanilla, I'm out.
I'm out of there.
I'm out. Yeah. I can't even stand that smell. Like, and like, I like the smell of tobacco. I love the smell of tobacco. Hate the smell of burnt cigarettes, but I love the smell of tobacco. And I walk in and, man,
there's really,
vanilla, it just smells so artificial.
There are 3 rules in every cigar lounge I've ever been in, basic ones. There might be a couple more, but here's 3 that are standing. 1, if a woman walks in, watch her mouth, because it's a boys club in there. And boys will be boys, right? So, like, I know at Emerson's here in Virginia Beach, where I smoke at their lounges, we call it a code 27. So if anybody says code 27, everybody shuts the fuck up. Like, stop being a prick. Stop talking about that hooker. Like, just let's go back to being normal guys who are like, I don't know, what is the Dow at today? You know, I haven't seen yet. Back to the S&P 500.
My eggs are still expensive. I don't understand.
That's absolutely right. So that's number 1, and I'll get back to the relaxation here in a second. Number 2, don't smoke a cigarette in a cigar lounge. Don't light it up. Somebody's going to give you shit. They might kick you out.
As a former smoker, I can tell you that like I have excused myself from a cigar bar to walk outside to smoke a cigarette outside of a smoking establishment.
Yeah, and it's just they don't want that mixed in. And number 3,
common courtesy.
Number 3 is don't come in here with your flavored cigar. And they sell them there. They don't want you smoking them there.
Yeah, I mean,
They sell them there because they make a lot of money on them. Now they're not. So a regular cigar lounge is not going to sell a Swisher Sweet, White Owl, Black and Mild, but they will have acids, which is made by Drew Estate, which is a reputable cigar manufacturer, but they make doesn't matter. I'll get into that later. So relaxation, it's a way to chill because if I light up a cigar, literally Jen will leave me alone, or she'll come have one with me. The point being, she's not going to be like, "Oh, I thought we were doing this tonight." She knows whatever she thought was going on for the next hour and a half. For me, we've probably talked about it before. I'll say something like, "Hey, I'm gonna have a cigar. Do we have anything pressing?" But if I don't, she's going to look at me and go, "Okay,
you got a runway.
That's what he's doing for the next hour and a half."
You got a runway. You got a runway to do whatever you need to do for the next little bit because you lit a cigar and you knew that you had an hour to consume that cigar.
Yeah.
Do whatever the hell you wanted to do for that hour. Take care of your TCB with flash.
What just happened?
TCB in a flash. Elvis Presley.
Didn't he die on this toilet
with a cigar?
I'm giddy up. So yeah, and
that's not true at all. That's not true.
Yeah,
I don't want to besmirch cigars or Elvis.
Like a peanut butter banana sandwich or something, right?
Peanut butter banana sandwich.
I'll say. What? I'm not. He's not Foghorn Leghorn, Dirk.
I'll say.
Son. Now listen here.
Now listen here, boy.
So that's a cigar. Like relaxation is definitely one of them. I've even had a cigar in the middle of a busy day. Like if my busy work is legitimately busy work, like I need to close the door to my office.
Right.
I have gone not so much to cigar lounge, but like to a park where nobody is and had a cigar and worked on my laptop.
It's interesting
because it's like, it'll slow you down a little bit, which to me speeds me up.
Well, one of the great defining philosophies I have in my life, and I instruct my teams whenever I talk to them, anybody that I'm working with or working for or working or is working as part of a team of mine, think slow, act fast. Cigars, think slow, act fast.
That's a good point. That's perfect. Wraps up relaxation. Okay. Number 3, taste. So this is tough for some people. So cigars are like, to me, scotch. First time I had scotch, didn't like it. Second time I had scotch, didn't like it. Third time I had scotch, I don't think so. About the 10th time I had scotch for real and tried to like actually taste it, I really enjoyed it. Now I love scotch. You're not going to smoke a cigar and be like, this is amazing. You're going to have it and go, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like that's fair. I don't see what's going on.
Right.
But to be fair, like think about people who drink craft beer, people who drink wine. It's in the same ballpark. Like there's legitimately notes, flavors, like where the tobacco is grown, on what side of the mountain, under how much shade, how much rain does it get. And I can tell you, I could smoke a cigar with my eyes closed and tell you what it is. Like a lot of cigars. There are a lot of cigars I could do that with.
And that is a connoisseur, right? So this is not just a habit. This is not just a relaxation tool. This is a hobby.
I can enjoy it. Yeah, like it's something that it's like golfing. Like, and to be fair, speaking of relaxation, it's something great to do while you're golfing. It's just one of those things. Like it enhances the flavor of a very nice scotch, a really good wine, generally red wine. Like there's even foods. I don't really do that. I'm not that into it. But yeah, like. If you like, there are scotches that I won't have without a cigar.
That's fair. So to me, what I'm hearing from you about cigars is it's not really any sort of like if you're trying to pigeonhole it in the same category as cigarettes or snuff or any other form of nicotine delivery, it's just not that. It's not really a nicotine delivery device.
Not if you're doing it appropriately.
Not if you're doing it right. If you're doing it right, it's not a nicotine delivery.
Like I have seen people inhale cigars, and that's aggressive, man. Like
I've inhaled cigars. And it's part of the reason why I don't like cigars.
Yeah, I think if you're inhaling it, you're doing it wrong. Now, again, you're going to get some, like occasionally you're going to get some ingestion of cigar smoke or something, but generally you're not going to want to inhale the cigar at all. Like that. It's not like a cigarette. Like a cigarette gives you a nice hit. A cigar,
a cigar will give you a nice fucking gut punch is what it'll give you. My experience with cigars is a little different, but we'll get into that later on when you're done with yours.
Number 4, right before we get to the one that matters the most, is basically celebrating something.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a nice communal activity. It's a nice celebratory activity. Everybody comes together. Everybody shares a cigar. You stand in a circle. You tell a story. You talk about the people that you're celebrating or the event you're celebrating. Whatever it is, you just get to enjoy
and
it. Right. It's a reason to congregate within a.
And there's history to it. I mean, think about how long people have been giving cigars away for a new baby. Like, it's just they make like if you go into Cigar Lounge, they'll have blue and pink cigars made that are basically candy to give to a new father that doesn't smoke cigars. Like, because when you have a baby, somebody's going to give you cigars.
It's true. It's true. Nobody gave me cigars when I had Pearl.
I sent one your way mentally.
Thank you for that.
It was a VSG, Virgin Sun Grown by Ashton. You enjoyed the shit out of it. Just so you know. I'm kidding.
These are great things to know in hindsight. Thank you.
There's not much more to say about that. Like at a wedding, when you get a promotion, it's like if somebody did something, I take them a cigar. You know what we can do? We can go smoke that cigar and talk about their promotion. To be fair, like it's also a funeral, like a sad gathering in remembrance of, you know, especially if they smoke cigars or if you remember hanging out with them a lot, which gets to my last point, the one that matters, the only one that really matters.
The 95%er.
Social bonding.
Social bonding.
So women are great. Love women. They've got shopping. They've got brunch. They've got girls' dinner every month. They still talk to the girls from high school, the girls from college that they went to college with when they're 50 years old, because women hang out. They find a way to hang out. Guys, when's the last time some guy said, hey, you want to go shopping, man? We have two things as we get older, okay, that I'm aware of, that I do socially, and they go together. Golf, cigars. Hey, man, you want to play around? Hey, man, you want to have a stick?
That's interesting. I don't have either of those.
So I probably have more friends than you.
Oh, you definitely have more friends than me. I don't have any friends.
I can tell you right now that of my actual friends, like let's say I have 8 or 9 like tight friends, probably 6 or 7, and then you've got like 15 friends that like I'll hang out, right? Of them, half, at least half, I met at a cigar lounge, or I met in my garage when I was having a cigar because they live in the neighborhood and they saw I was just hanging out. Mm-hmm. So the social part of it is so big for me. Like it's a way to hang out with other guys.
And that might actually be why I don't smoke cigars.
Yeah, a little bit of an introvert there.
I believe I'm called. I believe the millennials or the Gen Zers or something are calling it an ambivert.
Yeah. Is that something? That's a thing.
I like crowds. I like hanging out with groups of people. I like talking to people, and I like schmoozing and things like that. But when I'm done, I'm done. And when I'm done, I'm done. And I want to leave. And I want to go away. And I don't want to be around people. Now, the problem with a cigar for me is it locks me into an hour commitment of time that I'm going to have to either put up with or pretend to enjoy, or otherwise make diminutive small talk with people I don't necessarily want to. It locks me out.
So that's fair, dude. And you know what? Couple ways around that, just so you know. And once you go into a cigar shop a few times, you know the guys that work there. You probably know a regular. And this community of cigar smokers is like family to me. Like, and I don't go all the time. I don't go all the time like the 20%. But when I go in, it's like everybody's like, "Hey, man, Dirk, where you been? Hey, what's going on, Dirk?" Like they never forget my name. A, it's because it's Dirk. And B, it's like they just remember because last time you were there, you probably had a real conversation. And there's not that many of those going around in the guy world. Like in Menstown, that's what you do.
Oh God, no. Yeah, well, that's what Menstown's about.
Yeah, the original Menstown between Dave and I was literally the two of us sitting in a garage, smoking cigars, having a drink. And we spent over 900 hours doing that while he was alive.
You spent 7,000
over 900. Like I did the math for his eulogy. Like,
oh wow, that's
that's a minimum. It could have been as much as like 1,100 hours, but I went with like a minimum because I didn't want to like be boastful. But think about that: 2 guys talking. Women talk all the time. 2 guys talking about everything and anything. Like now you can talk about anything to that guy. Like legitimately anything. It's like you and I talking. Like there's just some people you can talk to. Well, when you're at a cigar shop, you'll have conversations with everybody, and it'd be about everything. It could be about your ex-girlfriend, you're in a breakup, your wife's pregnant, it's politics, it's religion, but whatever it is, nobody gets too heated. You know why? Because we know we're going to have to be here for another hour.
Yeah.
Here's how you get around marrying your cigar, which is what you were talking about. There are days I want to date my cigar.
Marrying my cigar. Hold on. Give that a name. You just gave that a name. Gave that a name. You just gave that a name. So describe that again. Like let's rehash that.
So marrying your cigar. That's something that I came up with a long time ago. It's sometimes I just want to date my cigar. So I don't want to marry it. So
this is really, really
so
good. I like this.
Ways around this. One, you walk in, you see everybody there, and you go get a Robusto, which is a small cigar. It's a 40-minute smoke. Like even if you're relaxing, it's 40 minutes, probably not longer than that. I mean, you can make a cigar last as long as you want if you're talking. But
right,
if you're smoking and talking, 40 minutes, a Robusto, you're done. Number 2 is a small announcement you make. You come in, you go to the humidor, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get this cigar. I'm just going to get a small Ashton today. I don't know how much time I have. And I don't want to spend $20 if I can't finish it. And that way everybody knows, oh, okay, Dirk's got something going on, but maybe he had an hour.
Maybe you may have an hour. You may not have an hour. You don't know how much time you have. You're settling yourself in.
And to your point, options. Half the time I got as much time as I want. I don't know how long I'm going to want to be here. So either get a Robusto, and if you're having a good time with a Robusto, you can have 2. Like 40-minute smoke. Like you're going to smoke a Churchill for an hour and 45 minutes. So what's 2 Robustos? 2 small ones versus a bigger one. So that's how I get out of that. But usually I'm not going into that lounge or into that garage or into that backyard. If somebody offers me a cigar and I don't know if I'm going to do it, I politely say, I'm good tonight. You know what? I'm set.
I find myself saying I'm set more often than I find myself saying, let me have one, because, let me give you my perspective as a smoker who does not necessarily like cigars, and as a former smoker. Now, let me point this out. I smoked from my teens until probably 39, I think, is when I quit. I haven't had a cigarette since 2014, so maybe the math is even wrong with that. I don't know. And I've had a few cigars over the years, and when I would smoke cigars before it was always as part of a social engagement, right? Some sort of, I never woke up in the morning was like, man, I'm going to have a cigar tonight.
We call that a breakfast bar.
Yeah. Never had a breakfast bar. Never came home from work at the end of the day and said, oh, I'm going to have a cigar, because I was a smoker.
Well, you don't want to lead back into that.
Right. And well, for me, like I'm talking about quitting smoking, right? So I just smoked cigars. I would actually smoke a cigar, put the cigar down, light a cigarette, smoke a cigarette, and then pick up my cigar again.
That's not uncommon,
because I needed my nicotine. And people were like, oh my God, what are you doing? Well, you obviously don't understand the addiction of nicotine. And you obviously are not really appreciating, the beauty of the nicotine that's living in that cigar that I just want to extract out and just get all of it in my system. But so when I quit, I would try and smoke a cigar, and the things that happened for me is I got bored
smoking a cigar.
Yeah, I get bored.
Yeah, man. So that makes perfect sense, man. Like, it's a couple things there that make perfect sense. The big one, and we'll just stick to this, is getting bored. So smoking a cigar is like having a scotch or a beer or playing video games or something. Like it's not that much fun when you're alone.
It is not my social activity.
I would say 95% of the cigars I have are with people. Like if there's like I remember watching the Final Four, and I had a really nice cigar and I had a really nice bottle of scotch, and I just sat in the garage, and you know what? I opened the garage door, which in our neighborhood, because of cigars, if the garage door is open, like don't go out back, go in the front, because then people come in. Well, we've been here 5 years. The number of people who have lived here for 20 years that didn't know each other that now hang out regularly in our garage it's amazing. It's like people have literally come up to me and said, "Thank you so much for it." And I painted my garage yellow, and it's got pictures of people all over. And it's a place. It's like a smoker's lounge almost, except for I'm not always smoking out there. The number of people that have said, "Dude, without your yellow garage, like nobody in this neighborhood knew each other. Like nobody hung out."
That's awesome. I mean, you became a hub. You became a fixture point. It's interesting in our neighborhood. Our daughter became that. So my daughter is a cigar lounge.
Pearl. Oh,
yeah,
that's nice. Yeah. She smells better.
And she does smell better. But, and like after I quit smoking, for me, like the social aspect of cigars, I appreciate it. If somebody is having a cigar or something like that, I'm simply going to ask to have a cocktail while I sit down while you guys smoke your cigars. And I'll even take a cigar. I'll smoke a cigar with you. But the thing is I've reached the age where I've just decided I don't really like cigars. I'm just not a cigar guy. I'm like, that's not who I am.
Baby, you're still allowed in Menstown. Like, I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm telling you why I smoke them.
No, I'm saying like that's what's amazing about it is cigars are a beautiful, beautiful thing. And like, I love a cigar. Like, I mean, I will enjoy a cigar. I will love the fuck out of a cigar, but it is by no means a habit. By no means is it something that pops itself up. If it lands in my lap at the right time and the stars are aligned, I'm going to enjoy the F out of that cigar.
Well, I'll tell you what.
But at no point, like if I showed up on your doorstep this afternoon and you said, "Hey, you want to go have a cigar?" My response to you right now would be, "No, I don't want to have a cigar, but you can have a cigar, and I'm going to have a bourbon and a bourbon."
So when we're done with this podcast, two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to a basketball game. Two, I've already been texted by two boys, Seth and Matt. "Hey, do you want to stick after the game? It's going to be like 60 degrees in February." And I was like, "Yeah." What would you say? Hey, so like we're in our 30s and 40s. Hey, do you want to play video games? Like, that's weird. Like, yeah, I'll come over and play video games. That's cool. Hey, do you want to go to the bar and just you and I get a drink? Like, that's cool. Are you breaking up with somebody? You getting divorced? Like, what's going on?
Well, and also that's like a prelude to kind of intoxication, right? I mean, like if you start drinking, that means you're probably going to end drinking, and that's not a good day. That's not how you want to play a Sunday out.
But I will generally, if I have a cigar, I'll have an adult beverage. Not always, but that I can take 2 fingers of scotch and make it last an hour and 40 minutes. Because all you're doing is you're sipping on it. Like you're truly sipping on it. No, it's not. I mean, I'm not if it's 21-year-old scotch, then I'm drinking it. But I don't know, like Matt, right? You know Matt.
Yeah.
Met him at a cigar lounge. So his dad met him at a cigar lounge. Met Seth through Matt. Trevor met him at a cigar lounge. This is basically our fantasy football team, except for you and Gavin and my wife. Like, one way or another, I met them through a cigar lounge, and it's like, it's very interesting because, you think of cigars, and it's like, so my favorite smell in the world might be a cigar that's lit, that's being smoked.
I love
my least favorite. Well, it's a beautiful thing, but my least favorite smell in the world might be the clothes that cigar smoker was wearing the next morning. Stale smoke.
The worst smell in the world. As a former smoker, like I will walk through, like you know that section outside of a concert or a baseball game or something like that, the smoking area. Man, I will walk through that area every time as a former smoker and just do this. Oh. But as soon as I get out of there, if I smell myself, it's the worst.
Yeah, so cigars are a little different in that aspect in this way. If I go into a cigar lounge, my next stop after my car is the shower. And I literally take my clothes off and put them in the washing machine. Like that's
smart. That's considered.
Well,
that's really what
it is. And it's like if I'm at a cigar lounge, not only do I not have anything to do for the next hour and 40 minutes or 2 hours, I have nothing to do for the next 3 hours. Because my next stop is I'm not even going to the grocery store. I'm literally not going to walk through the aisles and have people have to walk behind me because I know what stale smoke smells like, and it's the worst. And I'm not going to put anybody through that. But you know what? I've found that most people who smoke cigars like I do are pretty fucking polite. Like, We'll be at a tailgate. I will literally ask everybody within eyesight, hey, is this going to bother you? Like, it's no big deal. I don't need to have it. I'm just wondering, like, is it going to bother you if I smoke this cigar? In this neighborhood, when we moved in, I asked neighbors, 4 houses on each side, and the 2 across the street. I said, does cigar smoke bother you at all? And that's pretty typical for like the community. Like, last thing you want is people to hate cigars because of you. The problem with the social thing, which is 95% of the cigar to me, is starting smoking. I'm not here advocating for anybody to start smoking cigars. I would be better off not smoking cigars health wise, if for no other reason you can get mouth cancer.
Oh yeah, you can get mouth cancer. I mean,
And
you are absorbing nicotine into your
tar
system,
and smoke. That's not great for you, obviously, especially when you're in a lounge. Now, 90% of what I smoke is probably in the garage, and that's better, way better. You can get away with not even showering after that, because cigar smoke's not like, it doesn't stick to you like cigarette smoke. But if you're enveloped in it, yeah. So I don't know where I would be socially without cigars. Honestly.
That's interesting. And it makes me wonder, should I take up cigars to broaden my social environment? But then I realized that I don't like people enough to do it.
Well, the other part, what I was getting at before, and I kind of lost my train of thought, was the problem with the social part of it is an intimidating thing to start.
Oh, I'm sure. It is an intimidating thing to start. And let me tell you my experience with that. So I learned at a very young age, Cuban-made Romeo y Julietas are brilliant cigars. I couldn't tell you the difference between a Cuban-made Romeo y Julieta, a Dominican Romeo y Julieta, a Dunhill, or anything, right? So for me, like, my inside baseball is like, I know a Romeo y Julieta is a decent cigar. And so I've played off that for years, right? You know, I play off of it. If I go into a place and I'm in a work environment, or if I'm in a social environment and somebody's like, oh, do you want a cigar? Yeah. Give me a little Romeo y Julieta Robusto, and I'll sit there and I'll drink my bourbon. I'm dating that motherfucker. I'll sit there and I'll puff on it, and it's nice, and you know, it's got a great flavor to it and things like that, but I have absolutely zero desire to do anything with it. The problem I have is, after like holding it like this and smoking it and drinking it, I want a fucking cigarette.
Right. That's the downfall for former smokers.
Yeah. And I mean, I really, really want a cigarette. And I mean, that nicotine is getting into my system, and it's activating a lot of crap in my head that's been there for a long time, that is laid dormant, that is like, whoa, hey, we remember this. This is good stuff. This is fun for me. This is fun for us. Let's do this again. Let's get in here and let's do this. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I catch myself holding the cigar like this. Not really how you should hold a cigar, but what muscle memory does to you is says, this is not a cigar. This is a cigarette. This is not my beautiful cigar. So, you know, so that's the problem I have with like I want to embrace the social aspect of it. I want to embrace cigars. I want to enjoy cigars. I'm just not a cigar smoker. And I think the problem with it is, for me, is I'm too impatient, because if I'm sitting there doing something, the same reason I don't like golf, right? I'm like, don't fucking bore me. Like, don't like get me. If I'm getting drunk, that means I'm not getting bored. So, you know, have a cocktail in front of me at the very least. 2, it makes me really, really, really want to smoke.
So the second one I can't help you with, and the second one might be a reason to not have cigars. Like, I advocate for smoking cigars, not for health reasons, for social reasons. But if that's something that it triggers you, because it did for me. Like, I didn't smoke cigars after I quit smoking for like 4 years. Like, I just didn't do anything. And it was interesting because I wanted to, for the oral part of it, like you're so used to smoking a cigarette, like the cigar can help that, but it can also hinder from you're getting some smoke into your system. And so your body's not able to like get off of it. It's like, okay, I didn't say let's wean away. I said, let's quit cold turkey, brother. Like, stop. But if that would be a reason not to. And I would err on the side of not doing it. However, if you think you can get past that, if you can get the mindset, here's what I tell people who want to start smoking cigars: go into a cigar lounge, any cigar lounge, right? Make sure there's a couple people in there, but just the guy working there is enough. Okay. And be the stupidest fucking guy in the world, because they will love you. They're pumped because you're part of the community now. Like, they'll be like, oh, what got you into it, man? Like, what are you doing? You know, and you start picking it up, and they'll be like, oh, you might want to cut it like this. just so you know. But if you cut it that way, here's what's going to happen. And it's like, oh, you can light it with whatever you want. But if you light it with cedar, like there'll be no odor from, even the slightest bit you get from butane. Butane's way easier. It's generally what we do. And then, if you're going to use like a Bic, probably frowned upon, but we're not going to give you too hard a time. Like they're just cool about it. And that's how you start conversations is like, so here's two very quick stories. One, I gave my brother-in-law a cigar when he never had one. We were cleaning his boat. Gave him a cigar, and I looked at him and I said, "You had one of these before?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm thinking, nah, like just the way he said it. That's fine, whatever. Like I'm not here. He went to the front of the boat with the cigar in his mouth because I had one in my mouth. I remember looking at me. He goes, "What's the deal with the cigars?" And I go, "You want one?" He's like, "Yeah." And I go, "All right, cool. Here you go." He goes, "Cool." And I go, "You don't inhale that, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm aware." And I cut it for him, which might have made it easier for him, like socially, because it's awkward. Like, okay, what do I do here with the bottom? I just went, I'm just going to cut it for you. Is that cool? That way he saw what I did. His cigar is cut. No awkwardness. Gave it to him,
Right.
gave him the lighter. Like, then I lit mine up so you could see exactly what I was doing. And then I puffed on it. He came back 15 minutes later. He looks at me, he's green, dude. He goes,
He inhaled it.
How do you know when you're done, Dirk? I go, "You're done, brother." He's like,
when you're green.
I don't want to throw your cigar out. And I go, "You're about to die." It's like,
you're not doing well, kid.
Here's the perfect example of the cigar community. And then I'll let you decide. We'll make a decision on whether we think you should try it or not. So
okay,
we were at he had a boat, so we're at the yacht club. Nice. He had a nice boat. Yacht club's just a place where they slips for boats.
Wait, is this the yacht club we went to?
Yeah, same boat,
with the pool?
same place.
Yeah, I love that space, man. I love that spot. That's just a great spot. Like any place that you go to that's a marina with a pool.
Right.
That is part like on a barge. They had a
and
pool
everybody knows everybody that's down that whole, like the one marine. Like if you go down there, every slip knows every other slip, and not just the one next to him, like all of them, because half these people live on their boat.
Yeah, that's genius in and of itself, but that's another conversation.
That's a good retirement plan. So we're at the marina. It was 4th of July weekend or something. Sean and I are boys. Sean is my brother-in-law. We have been smoking cigars together for about, he's a great guy, 4 or 5 years. And he looks at me and he goes, "I'll see you tonight," because we knew he was going to watch kids run around and be back and forth to the pool. And I was going to be making about 50 burgers an hour on like a 2-burger grill because it's a boat. Like we just weren't going to see each other. Like we saw that one coming. And I laughed. I go, "Yeah, that's cool."
You knew where the night was
like
going.
Nobody's having cigars today. We're running today.
Right.
So we get done. It's legitimately 2:30 in the morning. And he looks down the marina and he goes, "Hey." I go, "What's up?" And he goes, "I got something for you." I go, "Oh, good. What do you got?" And he pulls out a Monte Cristo No. 2, which is, I don't know if it's widely considered. It's often considered the finest cigar in the world. It's Cuban. And he hands it to me and I'm like, "My man." Now I had a humidor in the boat, so we had cigars, but it wasn't a Monte Cristo No. 2. And I got to tell you, it was a long day, buddy. Poured something to drink. I'm sure for him it was rum and Pepsi. For me, it was probably bourbon or scotch. Long story short, a buddy of his played in the band. Actually, a buddy of his father-in-law. So his father-in-law smoked cigars too. So we're all sitting down outside the 2 slips. We put 5 chairs together. All sit down for a cigar. Me, Sean, George, his father-in-law, was a great guy. Just passed away. R.I.P. buddy. And this guy comes up and he's got his kid with him, and his kid's 24, the guy from the band. So again, long story short, I'll edit this down, but the 24-year-old walks up and I asked the guy, I said, "Hey man, you want a cigar?" The dad, and he goes, "I'm all set." And he goes, "Good." And I look at the kid and I go, "Cigar?" And he goes, "I guess." He goes, I go, "That's a yes." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll try a cigar." And I go, that's what I want to hear. I'll try a cigar. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. I was like, first time or first couple times or something? And he goes, "Yeah, I had one a long time ago, but like, I don't know what I'm doing." Yes, that's what I want. Not because it makes me feel powerful, but because now you can enjoy this shit, right?
Well, you surrender your ignorance, and you translate your ignorance, or you transfer you exchange your ignorance for wisdom.
gives me knowledge. I'm gonna, like, I have a humidor, so I'm like, I'll grab you a cigar. I know I'm not getting this guy anything too heavy. Like, you don't want to get him some spicy, heavy Nicaraguan blend that is going to crush him and just kill him. You get him something nice and light.
See, now you're making me want a cigar right now, and I can barely
Come on over,
breathe.
buddy. We're right down the street.
All right.
So this guy looks at it. I show him how to cut a cigar. I toast the end for him. He does it with me. He's like, oh, cool. I give him a second lighter. I was like, you may need to relight that because you'll be talking and stuff. And he goes, all right, cool. And he goes, what am I smoking? And he goes, smoked a couple times. And he goes, how do you know if it's any good or not? Like, what is the deciding factor, man? And I go, that's pretty easy for me. He goes, yeah, what do you got? And I go, you having a good time? And he goes, yeah. And I go, it's a good cigar. And he goes, he's like,
That's actually,
what do you mean? And I go, if you're having a good time, you're enjoying your drink, you're enjoying the conversation, you're having a good cigar. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. I go, you'd know if it was bad because you'd puke it up or you'd be like, bleh. And he goes, he goes, what am I smoking? So I told him it was like $12, $15 cigar, decent cigar. And I go, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is you're having a good time. And he goes, thanks, man. He goes, it's, you know, I didn't expect that. Like, thanks for making this easy. And I was like, no worries. And he goes, what are you smoking? And I go, the finest cigar in the world. He started laughing. He's like, all that matters is that you're having a good time, huh?
Well, so hold on. Let me crystallize that thought because I think you said something, and I think it's really important, and I think it's a good thing to focus in on. So let me crystallize the thought. A good cigar is a cigar that complements the conversation, the cocktails, and the company you're with.
That's perfect. That's the perfect way of putting it.
That's a good cigar.
Call that C squared.
And that cigar could be that cigar. You know, like if the company you're with and the conversation and the cocktails are good enough. You can have a Cohiba or you can have a Swisher Sweet. The Cohiba is going to add to it. The Swisher Sweet, you may not even notice because the conversation's that good. The conversation's bad. You're going to notice that. You're going to notice that Swisher Sweet.
Oh, absolutely. It's so I, you know, for the rest of the world, I used to run venues, right? Performing arts centers and arenas and stuff. And if anybody knows Ron White, I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough to have cigars with Ron White a couple times. And I said, you know, how long is your set? And he goes, it depends. He says, if I'm having a good set, that means people are laughing. And if people are laughing, I'm going to keep talking and I'm going to keep telling jokes. Now, he had a cigar on stage every set. And he said, now, if nobody's laughing, I'm smoking that cigar. Like, I'm like, okay, tough crowd. Like, but there are times that I don't touch that cigar for 20 minutes. Like when I'm on stage, I'll do an hour and a half. It's like, sometimes I'll do maybe an hour, like 50 minutes. I go, how do you know? He goes, depends on the crowd. And I know that because my set is over when my cigar is done.